You're looking very rosy there, Jamie.
There's two reasons: sunshine and the Swedish Mile. There we go.
Sunshine and the Swedish Mile. It sounds pretty dreamy, that, I must say, when you just say it like that.
When you're 40 minutes in to an 80-minute time cap workout, the word dreaming doesn't spring to mind. But I think one of the things we were talking about before, you got lead from the front, so you got to do these things. I think we're videoing this on the Tuesday. I think it's in the class for a 40-minute AMRAP tomorrow. So yeah, you got to be doing the business to offer it out to people.
You have got to be doing the business, that's for sure. I mean, I did it as well, and it's one of them where if you're someone that tends to have a lot of conversations in your head, it's that sort of workout where there's going to be a lot of conversations in your head. Yeah, I just kind of focused on each movement, had a little kind of thing like when I was getting up off the push-ups, I'd be just leaning forward, so I'm getting a bit of momentum into that run, just little bits here and there, trying to turn on a 50p, doing the shuttles. Yeah, it was an interesting workout. Good to do a longer workout like that for a change.
Yeah, definitely. I felt very similar to you. It was like, what are going to be the small wins? And I was working myself towards a sip of water every time. So when we do these, when you guys do this workout, you'll realize the burpees are probably the most challenging movement to just keep cyclical. So what I would do is I'd finish and then I'd have a sip of water, compose myself before I did them, so then I could maintain a good pace. And that was just my way of like giving me a little tip of the hat to respect the workout and then move on the other stuff. There's no excuse. So yeah, lots of time to think, which was sometimes I think that's good. Clear the head.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be difficult. I did it with if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I had 4 other people well and truly doing it together. It was good fun.
I gave everyone a heads up on it as well before we last week, just to be like, this will be a great workout to do in a team together. And boy, yeah, it was a good workout to do with other people for sure.
Totally.
Right, getting stuck into the week starting Monday the 18th of April.
Yep.
We're well and truly getting stuck into this phase now. Obviously, coming back to our focuses during this phase, getting stronger was one of the key things, especially, well, in the raw lifts as well. So we're kicking Monday off with some deadlifts.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll see some Olympic lifting, and we've been working on the hang clean. That'd been great, and then just good old fashioned strong positions from the floor. Build that posterior chain. One of the things I talk about when, like, if we think of this as a prerequisite to being good at the hang clean potentially, is standing up like you mean it, and having a strong deadlift is one of those ones that I always remember the old school CrossFit quote. Like, I think CrossFit Thames coined it. Stronger people are harder to kill. There's loads of connotations to that, but I still believe the basic premise is there. If you're fit and you're healthy and you're strong, you can fight off a lot of other things. So that's the conversation to have with my members anyway.
Agreed. We're putting moderately heavy. And for me, when I'm gauging this, I would be saying, as soon as you feel the speed of that bar drop off, or on your next set, you feel like it's going to, massively drop off, I would leave it there for today. Use speed to give you a guide on this one.
We also put some notes in for newer members, just up the rep scheme. This will do 2 things. It will reduce the overall loading on the system, plus it will give more chance for practice and skill development. So just remember those. We've also added in there on the scaled side of it, slow touch and go reps. It will work the posterior, work the eccentric loading. But notice the difference between that and the drop and go reps, where you keep your hands on the bar, but you're looking at two double or 2 singles, to make that double, rather than banging and clanging. Unless you're at Matt Rodwell's gym, where you've got to keep hold of that, and you do library deadlifts where they're dead silent.
Yeah. For the workout after, pistols.
Yeah.
A tough one. Pistols. It's one of them where I feel like you walk in some gyms and can shy away from it quite a lot. And then from that, they're never sure what scale to use. Do they do a shrimp squat? Do they do a pistol to the box? What are you saying for this workout, Jamie?
Good. Well, this workout's taken straight from the athlete plan. So again, if you have any of your athletes, try and get them to jump in. And the pistols kind of, again, popular again because the quarterfinals are in there. The team quarterfinals had a good amount of pistols and people were banging them. So thought processes behind it is that whenever you're looking at doing a movement, you want to get as close to that movement as possible that someone can achieve. So like you already mentioned, the shrimp squat, the single leg work. But what we've done is we've also put some options in for trying to like preserve the feel of it. So we put pistol, we put a reduced number, and then we've also put jumping lunges with a load. So this might be like, for me, for instance, I can do pistols. I tend to save them for any kind of competition that requires pistols because it does beat me up a little bit. But the weighted jumping lunge, so 14 weighted jumping lunges would be much more accessible for me, who has a bit of an imbalance and feels like they get a bit bent out of shape. So I'll still pistol to warm up and I'll feel like I'll practice the movement. But then when it comes down to the workout, I'll choose the most suitable exercise that will give me longevity. I mean, for me, I'll be 35 next year. I'm not trying to break any records. I'm just trying to have some fun with training. And I know if I do pistols and try and go through them fast, knee will niggle all week, ankles will feel a bit dusty. So I'm just trying to tend to, unless there's someone in the class that wants to race, which is the worst thing you should be doing, but learn from me, don't race someone that you shouldn't be racing, like Ben.
If there is someone that's super keen on doing them and stability is more the issue, get them to hold a plate in front of them, whether it's a 5 kilo plate, something like that, so that then they can practice doing the reps. And the scale down from that is just dropping the weight that they hold in front of them. So if anyone is a keen bean and wanting to do pistols, that's a good, nice little scale to use there. Obviously, the other high skill movement that we've got in there is the chest to bar. So like Jamie said, we want to preserve the stimulus of the workout as much as we can. So we again go for the reduced number of reps, then down to pull-ups, and then from there, reducing the number again. It should be getting through the movement with as few problems as possible. You can go straight into the next one. There's very kind of little resting or messing about during this one because we want to get onto them burpee box jumps as fast as we can.
Yep. Agree.
Excuse me. I was wheezing a little bit there.
You've got 90 seconds rest. So it's one of those ones that the recovery is going to come around. So just make sure that you get your work done and you work to the end of the time and then you just do your best to recover. Always notice whenever a workout, an interval workout's tough, in those intervals, no one talks to each other. As a coach, you ever see it where you're doing like 10 rounds, 2 minutes on, 1 minute off? In that 1 minute, if you switch the music off, there would not be a sound. No one's looking at each other. I always find it like when you're in the like rounds 5, 6, and 7 out of a 10 rounder, no one's talking, no one's looking up. You've been there, Jack, right? We've all been there.
100%. Yeah. To be honest, it was like that doing the Swedish Mile. I was like, I'm not looking at anyone else here. No. Just what's in front of me. Yeah. Good. On Tuesday, we've got some strict ring muscle up work. We had a quick conversation about this beforehand, talking about the format, and you'll see that we've gone for every 90 seconds. So it's more like a strength piece, and it is a strength piece, and that's what we're after. Obviously, we've given a warm up for the strict ring muscle up as well. And like you say, Jamie, it's how we've done it is that we can drop people off as we go through that warm up. Do you want to just go into a little bit more detail there on that side of things?
Yeah, so this comes down to the structure of coaching and how you progress the movements to get people, one, maybe warmed up for the RX movement if they've got that ability, or two, to give them scope. So someone who doesn't know what level they're at, and they may be at that very first beginner level, they feel like they get that scope. And that comes from my own experience of starting from the wrong end. So starting from the most challenging movement and then dropping people off. And then we get to the point where, okay, well, you can't do any of those things. You're going to have to do that. If you think about that as a conversation that you have with someone potentially who's quite nervous, who doesn't really have that skill ability, it's very demeaning. It's not a good position to be in. Whereas if you think of the inclusive nature of going from the basic level to the more advanced, is you get people to practice it. And then when you drop them off, like Jack said, is right, guys, I'm going to go through the progressions a bit harder, try them. When you can't do it, go back to your progression and then just keep practicing it and refining that skill. So then you will get sometimes a bit of downtime for that most beginner level, but for them, they are probably welcoming the rest. They're probably welcoming the time to then watch the more advanced thing because they'll be inspired. They might even learn something from it. So the whole basis around dropping people off through the progressions is so effective from a coaching standpoint, is where you have a whole host of people in your class and you can cater for all of them, rather than that coach that only teaches the basics, never gets that member who's been here 6 years to muscle up, or on the vice versa, only helps the really advanced people. We had this conversation on like the coaches development, and it was like beginner and nervous coaches only help the good people because they're really easy to help. They're already doing it right.
Yeah.
How do you help the person that can't even hold the full script and can't understand how to do it? That's what makes you a good coach, in my eyes anyway.
You dropped some bombs there, my friend. Because
There's a few things in there.
I was going to ask you, I was going to be like, how do you keep the ones that you drop off early engaged? But you pretty much answered the question there, so I'm not going to ask you.
That again, that come from experience of taking people through and then watching them do it, and then the beginner people like getting bored and then start chatting, and then they don't think about what they're doing. It's again just trying to read the room and engage in it. So
yeah. Like you said, just encourage them to just try it and just see, you know, can they hold, even if what a partner's supporting them, doing like a ring support as an example or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just keep them engaged. Yeah. Awesome. I just again want to touch on with this strict ring muscle up. We said at the start of the phase, we said it might be in for one phase or two phase. It's pretty likely that this is going to stay in for two phases, so we can see the results, you know, when we've got enough time to kind of build up to some good results at the end of it. So you can expect this muscle up work to be going into the next phase as well, just to give you guys a bit of a broader overview. So this workout's a nice little twist. So regionals, Nate, bit of a variation. We've all done strict rung muscle ups already for the strength work. Very nice. And we're doing a variation in the workout. So strict or regionals, Nate, was strict ring muscle up into strict handstand push up, and then hang kettlebell snatches, which were heavy. So we've got the wall walk in there, again going upside down, a little bit like the handstand push up, and then we've got the hang kettlebell snatches in there. What are you aiming for members to get out of this workout today?
I think to have a touch on some wall walks. So when we did the 22.1, we all established that 3 wall walks was a manageable number with the other interference around it. Now, I think the hang snatches, not only are they heavier than the dumbbell, they're a bit more awkward. The changing over is probably a little bit easier because you're just going to do 3 on one side and 3 on the other. Things from a coaching perspective is just watching the top end of that hang snatch. A lot of people tend to grab the kettlebell right in the middle. You want to be grabbing the inside corner, so then that kettlebell can come round and it's on your, coming round your wrist rather than over the top. They're the small things. I mean, back in the day, we used to use kettlebells quite a bit when we were first learning. And that was the one thing I learned very quickly, is that don't wear your watch on the outside, because you won't have a watch by the end of it. But yeah, the basic feeling was to fatigue the shoulders. And then no one really likes goblet squats. They're one of those movements that they're in there and you get through 9 unbroken, but then the fatigue on the shoulders by holding the kettlebell, you can't hold it on the top, guys. Like, that's cheating. We've got to hold it underneath our chin, got to get in, like those pecs engaged, which make the wall walks hard. They're fatiguing on the lower back as well. And they're overall just a pretty miserable movement. I think everyone would take 9 front squats with 60 over some goblet squats. Well, I would anyway. So yeah.
I think another thing is on the kettlebell snatches, just taking a second or two overhead before you go straight into your next rep. because especially with a heavy kettlebell snatch, rather than the arm being by the ear, can really end up out to the side and not really under control. And again, that's where potential injury is going to happen. So make sure it's like a good punch up. They've got control before they then bring it back down. And depending on the person who's doing them, I really like when it's a little bit heavier and when the rep scheme's smaller, to let that kettlebell swing out in front of me a little bit, so I can really kind of use the swing and the momentum of the kettlebell to get it back up for the next rep, rather than keeping it closer. That's a little bit horses for courses, be different for different people, but yeah, that's just something you can touch on before going into that workout as well.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wednesday.
This weightlifting piece is straight off the athlete plan as well, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah, I've added a couple of sets because why not? I wanted to add a couple of sets, which were the 60 and the 65%, just to get a bit more of a touch. If you think of the guys on the athlete plan, the volume of weightlifting, the amount of sessions that they complete is significantly higher. It's 2 sessions a day. They touch on weightlifting a lot more. The reason I wanted it a little bit higher, gives us a bit more bang for our buck in the session. And then secondly, get into those weights. We want to improve our overhead squat. So there we go. Sorry, I'm back in. We wanted to improve our overhead squat. Just make sure people are not trying to call me. So with that, the 60 and the 65% efforts are going to be making it slightly more challenging.
Yeah. So there's obviously a few ways that you can skin the overhead squat cat. You can go heavier and build confidence, taking it off the rack, but we can also build confidence by just doing more reps of front squats as well, which is exactly what we're doing here. And for example, myself, I actually find it easier to get in a bit of a better position when I snatch the weight up and then go into an overhead squat. Again, that's a little bit horses for courses, but again, it's just different ways of getting into the position for an overhead squat as well, just exposing members to that. And again, you're just building confidence through the breadth of how we're doing the exercise, which is great.
I agree. The power snatches earlier on could probably be some touch and go. And then towards the end, if those weights get a little bit heavier, that 60, 65%, just some quick singles. And then there's no break between the last snatch and the overhead squats. That last power snatch, make it count, and then get yourself straight into your business on the overhead squats.
For sure. I think definitely place the emphasis on the overhead squats during this weightlifting piece. So make sure so they can keep hold of it for that 30 seconds. It might be just a quick drop at 24, 25 seconds. And then on 30, they snatch it straight up and they're staying unbroken for the 30 seconds on the overhead squats.
Yeah.
For the workout, classic, Annie, double unders.
Yeah, little bit of a finisher, with the priority being the overhead squats for the day, but a nice benchmark. This is a good one for your existing members to kind of just keep on top of. I think keeping on top of midline and keeping on top of the double unders means once you kind of got the double under to the point where this workout is an unbroken 5 to 6 minute workout, if you can just keep it there, I'd probably say that's enough. We don't need to be trying to improve that anymore. We just keep that locked down. For your newer members, it's a great opportunity to kind of establish a benchmark. We get lots of people coming in where this is normally one of the workouts that are first RX'd. Mm-hmm. So Fran is probably a bit harder. Even something like Helen might be quite hard because they've actually got pull-ups. If someone can get double unders pretty early on, everyone can do a sit-up when they first come in. It's just a matter of the amount of times people try and get a 10-minute Annie, and it's like, yeah, I've RX'd my first workout. So easy wins there.
Unless you're called Jack Cornthwaite, in which case you could clean and jerk 130 kilos when you started CrossFit, but you couldn't do a double under.
Wow. No wonder we're friends, because my double under game took me about 7 years because of my ignorance of practicing. So, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a good stat. That's a claim to fame.
And trying to link toes to bar as well. Awful. I had to do that little swing. I had to do that little swing before you do the second, go into your second rep.
Oh, don't. The little doodah down the bottom.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, I'll have coached that out of you pretty quick.
Amazing. Right. Thursday looks super fun. And we've put in a quarterfinal workout, but in a partner format.
Yeah, this has been written for about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then the athlete program keeps throwing up unbelievable workouts. So I haven't had the chance to then put it in. It's finally got itself in. It's in on a Thursday. But I still want people to like give it a bit of business on it. Like normally I'm trying to back people off. Yeah. But being in pairs, the wall ball numbers are small. This is the first time, but it won't be the last time that we see the shuttle run. I heard that the shuttle run was supposed to be in the open in 22.1, but they did the box jump instead. I don't know whether there was a logistics thing or whether they were worried about gyms being able to facilitate it. But I heard on the rumour mill, living in London, you're always on the rumour mill, that the shuttle run was supposed to be in. So the likelihood is if it was in quarterfinals this year, it's going to be in the open next year.
It's true that.
So then, you know how we hammered the wall walks? You guys have got to be ready for some shuttle runs.
It's true that. It's a good point. I love how you've got a bit of an inside on, shuttle run's supposed to be in the open. Oh, who's your contact? Is his name Dave?
No. Well, me and Dave don't go way back, but he once emailed me. So yeah, this workout, it looks really good fun. We put some things in there that we've got the rope climb, so treat it as a skill-based day on that Thursday, which is nice. It's a 30-minute time cap, which then gives you a good 10-minute window to get into the rope climb as a skill. With the shuttle runs, one of the big things that I really harp on about is like the standard is the standard. I know that's spoken about in CrossFit quite a bit. It's like, well, we know what the shuttle run standard is. Get everything past the line, touch the ground. So let's practice that standard. It's probably not the standard that normal sports people, I know when I played rugby, the shuttle run wasn't done like that. It was foot over the line or hand over the line. It wasn't everything over. But it's worth just getting into the groove of it now. I remember when they changed the handstand walk standard to hands behind the line. It took a little while as a skill to practice putting both hands down straight because most people start staggered. So yeah, well worth just delving into the detail there. Bit of fun, shuttle runs, out and back and then switch as a minimum. So that's nice and easy to count. But overall, everyone likes doing the workouts that they see on YouTube. So this is kind of right up the street.
Yeah, it'll be a good jam to get into, especially if you've got ropes at your gym that can be used. Yeah, definitely great one to get stuck in. Go on.
We put some strict pull-up variation. So if you have a look in the notes, guys, if you don't have ropes, we've put a rep scheme in for strict pull-ups that will be split between your pair. Also, if the shuttle run is not something that can fit within your site, and I'm thinking of Matt Rodwell's gym at Arc, it might be a bit awkward, but I know he's a bit of a ninja, so he'd make it work. But we've put 3 calories would equal 1 out and back on a machine. So if someone can't run, or if we don't have that space, we've just got a few things in there that will just kind of help the general running of your session. Because I know sometimes that can be quite a difficult thing in your gym.
Yeah, agreed. I think a few key things to be working on during like the shuttle runs as an example, like think about turning on a 50p when you go to change direction from one side to the other. So that's a thing I was kind of thinking about. Staying low as well when you're coming out the shuttle run, so you can kind of lean into it and get a little bit of momentum into your next one. And then on the rope climbs, just really hammer getting that clamp right so your feet don't slip down the rope. Just really focus on the basics. Big reach, clamping. Yeah, focus on your basics during this workout.
Nice. Friday.
Big Friday.
Big bench press.
Ooh. Got a heavy 2 reps double as well. Yeah. So following the same format as the deadlift, we're looking to build to a heavy double. Similar kind of principle for newer members. Keep it to 6 to 8, going every couple of minutes, every couple of 2.5 minutes. And then we've got like three sets of 1, so 3 back off sets. Now, with the deadlift and with this bench press, just
understand that those 3 singles are still going to be very tough. A heavy double or a moderate to heavy double will feel very much just as tough as these 3 singles coming off the back end. So don't switch off after you've done your heavy double and see these as a given, because that's not necessarily the case. So stay engaged, stay focused. You don't need any mistakes on back off sets. Just make sure everything's dialed in for that.
Yeah. And again, focusing on the basics of the bench press and what the standards were for the quarterfinals. Make sure the shoulders, the bum and the feet, stay in contact with the bench and the floor. So really kind of dialing that in and just looking to really get some tension in the bench press through the body as well. So arching the back a little bit more, turning the feet out to get tension as well. Yeah, all stuff that members probably won't be too familiar with when doing the bench, especially if they've come from, the usual kind of just fitness or Globo gym or anything like that. So yeah, a few key basics to kind of work on there. Yeah. Super simple workout.
Yeah, it's gonna catch people out. This, yeah. I think it's gonna light you up. I think the burpees initially get you into the race. I'd originally put them last, and then I put them first to make that first set of hang squat cleans and toes to bar even more challenging. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people will come out hot, hit those burpees over the bar. The expectation realistically is to hang on to that barbell. If you're going to split it into 2, probably be 5 seconds rest, and that'll be enough to just release that grip, so then you can be unbroken on the toes to bar. Did a workout very similar to this, which was on the plan, which is like ring dips, and then I put some toes to bar in it, and the interference, 12-9-6 toes to bar is not difficult for me, but then just the grip interference and then the lat engagement of the hang squat clean makes these toes to bar a bit more challenging. So making sure you're prepared for what you're going to do when the shit hits the fan, basically. When it starts to get tough, how are you going to continue to move through this workout? Target time short, 4 to 5 minutes. Time cap of 10. Realistically, from the gym perspective, if most people should be done by 8. Mm-hmm. 4 to 5 if you've really nailed the regressions right. 8 if you've kind of pushed it, and then 10 if you've done something wrong. Yeah. That's what I normally say. A time cap. If you get capped, sometimes that means you've chosen the wrong scale for the day.
Good tips. Probably one of the things to watch out for is those members that squat clean that first hang squat clean. So again, just emphasizing that, and especially if members decide to break the setup, again, just being clear on the standards. For example, today, again, when we were doing the Swedish Mile, a few people forgot that it was burpees and they started doing down ups, and then when we said burpees, it was like, oh, remember to clap above your head, which again, super basic, but sometimes people just forget, and it's not on purpose. They might have had a stressful day, just remembering that they've got lives outside of the gym as well is important. So yeah, just be clear from the start, so then you don't have to pull them up halfway through the workout.
Yeah, totally agree.
Saturday.
Whiteboard workout. Yeah, whiteboard workout. Looks good.
It does. We're trusting. We're going trust. Why is it called trust?
Yeah, so in the notes, Dave had written, you've got to trust your ability to keep hold of that barbell and trust your technique when there's not much left.
I like it.
I think that's a really cool way to think about it. We can apply that principle in the class format as like you've got to trust your partner to not buckle you and not slow you down and all those kind of principles behind the community aspect of it as well. Mm-hmm. So we've taken it and I adjusted the calorie number up. So when you see the individual athletes, they're doing like half the number of calories, but then we're going to get a rest after completing one whole round. So we're going to work through machine, some squat variation, and then some shoulder to overhead variation. And then we're going to rest around with the target of getting 4 rounds per AMRAP, which will then allow each individual to be aiming for 2 rounds each. Now, in one AMRAP, you may think, oh, that's not much work. But across those 3 AMRAPs, that's where we see 6 whole rounds, where the weight gets heavier, the intensity starts to probably increase. We might even see more rounds in the later stuff just because the rep scheme starts to drop. Things I've thought about in here is there's a whole host of variations, right? We've got 3 different squats, 3 different shoulder to overheads. We need to just be smart about finding those variations. We put some bench press in. I understand that there was bench press the day before, but again, it's in a different context. It's a bit lighter. If we need to change it to some upper body pull-in, we can do. And we've also provided some percentages based off of what those weights should feel like, based off of your 1 rep max clean and jerk.
Awesome. When warming up for this, obviously you're gonna, that feeling of like, oh my God, there's actually so many variations of this. I'm a coach, I'm feeling overwhelmed. How would you be going through the warm up for this workout?
Nice. So let's look at this as the push press leads nicely into the push jerk, which leads nicely into the split jerk. So there's a nice logical format there, and you probably add the strict press in to start. So we're working down the list there. And then on the flip side, you work the squat the other way around. We put the bar onto the back, then we then go to the front, and then we go to the overhead squat and then talk about those positions. So just a real thinking of taking it from the simplest to the more progressive and more difficult is a good way to look at it. Also, one big thing in here that kind of gets highlighted with barbell complexes, certainly with the bear complex, is learning how to bring the bar from front rack to back rack. More applicable just for that back squat. But when you're fatigued and the weight's like 90 or 60, or it's right up there as a percentage, just a little touch on that in the warm-up to make sure that people are aware that it's a push press or a push jerk to then bring it up. And then with that back rack, making sure your elbows are pulled backwards so it locks the bar in. Nothing worse than seeing people's elbows come forward as the bar comes down, and then it's on the fingers, you drop it off your back, you get this like graze all the way down your back. So that's probably the movement that's not listed as a movement, but something that's worth practicing is the transition from front to back. So that's what I would coach. Simple to hardest.
Awesome.
And I would coach them all.
Yeah.
Because if you don't coach them all, someone's trying to do a clean grip overhead squat, and then you're up shit creek then in the middle of the workout.
Yeah.
Yeah. Struggle bus. All aboard.
A little story from the Reykjavik Championship qualifiers a couple of years ago. Mind your head, because when I went to take the bar onto the back rack, hit my head. So make sure, no, on the front. I know, yeah. I was actually snatching it off the floor, but it's just emphasizing, make sure you get that bar high enough before you take it down onto the back of your neck. Again, just super simple things that are just good little reminders. I
think we're good. I think all of these mistakes that we've made will then hopefully mean that, well, Matt Rodwell made the same mistake, kept his bar too close. But I think that's where coaching comes down to. And I think like from a gym perspective, exposing the coaches to mistakes is what's part and parcel of learning. It's not necessarily a bad thing making a mistake. It's what you do after it that depends on whether it becomes a really bad mistake or just an opportunity to learn.
Yeah. And I think the other one is as well, like, if you've done something wrong, share the story, because then it's going to be more memorable for the member, and they're more likely to remember that and probably not do that as well. So just any little stories that you've got are always just kind of a nice little touch, really, to, engage members and just make sure they remember key points that you say, because like the key point will be attached to the story and they'll remember the story and the key points in there as well. So double whammy. And it's also funny. Sunday.
It is also very, very funny.
Sunday, the holy day.
Yeah.
We've got another epic partner workout as well.
Yeah, just something simple. Go on.
I feel like I recognise it.
Yeah, we've done it on a Sunday. I think it was 2 months ago.
Right, okay.
Just wanted to put something in that was super low skill, that you could make a decision with your partner whether you were going to go hard at it or whether you were a bit beat up. If you think of if someone comes in and they're a weekend warrior, they might come in Thursday because they love rope climbs. They're signing up because it's a bit of bench press, and then they see a heavy barbell on the Saturday, so they love it. And then they've already organized, I'm going to go for brunch on the Sunday, so I'm definitely coming in because I need to earn some calories. Like, this is a psychology of a member, not necessarily a competitive athlete. So then they get themselves in this hole where they're like broken, and then we want to stay on the progressions the following Monday. We need to give them an opportunity to move. And this is a great opportunity. I've done this workout loads and loads of times. It's a good way to develop some volume in the legs, good way to do some sit-ups, get some rowing. It's just a nice mover. And then there's a bit of accessory after it as well. So we've got some more accessory work built around that upper body pulling. So feet elevated rows, got some single arm pressing to kind of iron out those imbalances, and then your midline can never be too strong. So a bit more midline in there as well.
You shared a story yesterday, and they were doing banded dead bugs, which was quite cool to see. A good part of variation now was quite cool. What were you doing? It was a decent rower who shared it as well. I don't know who he is.
So Kieran runs a rowing club called Tideway Scullers, who take a lot of college-based athletes who are down on the Thames on the Tideway. So 10-15 minutes from TO where I work. And he's a member there, and we've been good friends for a little while. We've done some work with his rowing club, and he attends the gymnastics classes. And one of the big things that we didn't realize with rowers, because they sit down, even though they've got strong cores, they've got seated cores where they sit down, they're quite strong, but the rest of it is a bit spaghetti, a bit coordinated. So we're just going through the warm up, and I wanted to, if we sometimes throw dead bugs in a workout, because we do them fairly regularly, some people dismiss them. So I just made everyone grab a band, or one band between two, and then you hold it straight directly above your head, and then you press into the band. It gets you that upper body tension, and then you just move your legs in and out. It keeps it interactive because you're having to work against your partner, makes it slightly harder, and it makes people concentrate. So if in this workout you want to go banded dead bugs, you can either get a partner to do it, and then you're lying back with each other. We'll find the post and we can repost it. Kieran's probably got a video, so I'll get it off of him. Or you can attach the band to an upright on a rig, and we can do it that way. So then you can fly solo if you don't want to be too close to someone else.
Awesome. Just quickly on the notes of rowing as well. We'll be slipping in the odd kind of rowing WOD session as well, that you kind of co-wrote with Cam, which is pretty cool. So you kind of had a touch in there where you made it class friendly, and it's just quite cool to be able to do some sort of collaboration as well from my point of view anyway. So
Cameron's been a long time friend. I remember this lunatic guy, ex-Olympian, comes and joins splits, and he's like, I like a bit of fitness, start doing this CrossFit. And then first workout was Helen, like right up his street, running light swings, not many pull-ups. And you realize when someone has a sub 6 minute 2K row, this workout is the perfect time frame for them. He's doing it in like 5-6 minutes. It is spot on for him. Initially scared me to death because I was like, he's going to kill himself. And then realized how such a lovely a man, and created rowing WOD, And we collab together, and all of the rowing programs are hard to put into a class. We've all seen as athletes 10 500s with a minute. It's great when you're on your own, but how do you do it when two people are sharing a rower? How do you do it when one person's doing a 130 split and one person's doing a 210? It's very, very up and down. And the thing we got to was using time-based equations. So then say someone who's a bit quicker, they may end up rowing a bit more than 500. If someone's a bit slow, they may end up rowing a little bit less. And there's notes behind it. So we're looking at putting this in as our engine extra plan, but we'll also drop some of these sessions within the class planning as well, because again, there's no reason why rowing can't be taught in a specific Thursday session, or even we maybe in the future, this might scare people, but we should possibly do a 2K plan.
Oh my God.
Imagine.
People's worlds come crashing down.
Yeah, I know. Scary times.
There was something else I was going to say on this note as well. Rowing. Yeah, that was it. So this is more of a general question. If you're a gym and obviously you're thinking of buying some rowers, or you've got some rowers, as a guide, how many rowers do you say a gym should have? Do you go off per members? Do you go off like how many usually come to classes? What would you suggest?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah, as a rough guide.
So it depends on a fit out for a gym, realistically. Funnily enough, it's if you're a bit short on cash, you could maybe go like one rower per 4 people, and then you have to be smart about those variations. You might have other bits of kit. I think the long-term goal is have a big enough space to have one piece of cardio kit per person. Now, that's not necessarily, if you've got 20 people in a class, 20 rowers and 20 bikes. You may have half and half, or you might have a third with ski ergs and that kind of stuff. Otherwise, you'll turn into like a Barry's boot camp and not have any other space to do anything. But I think certainly trying to build to the point, I think most realistically, and I know from my experience of being at quite a few gyms, is 1 rower per 2 people is normally the going rate. So if any of you guys are kind of a lot less than that, drop us a note, because that would be factored in, or we'd have to look to factor that in within the class plan on the rowing.
I think as well on them rowing sessions, to be fair, you could probably use like if you've got a ski erg and you're just 1 rower short, just sub in the ski erg. We'll make sure the distances, the changes are in there. But yeah, the sessions will be possible to do on a different machine. Ideally, it'd be on a rower. But if you do have, a combination of different machines, and that would be enough for what you've got, obviously you go down that route. But yeah, just interesting to know your thoughts.
Yeah.
Wicked.
Awesome.
Right, mate. Appreciate your time.
No problem. It's all
and
good.
And I'll see you next week.
See you later.
See you in a bit.